Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm the Crimson Canadian Mactor, and today we're going to be going over the Beginner's Grind Episode 4, where we're going to get our free 5-star hero. Just from doing all that grinding we did in the Mission Successful Episode 3, so it's going to make it very easy to access this character. So right now what I'm doing is I'm getting free gear that I got from all those Mission Successful tickets or achievements I accomplished, and what we're going to do is get gear for my damage dealer Cleo, and what I'm going to do here just beforehand is we're going to get her built up, make her as strong as possible before we get into the actual meat and potatoes of this part of the episode. So again, what I'm doing here is, and I'm going to get her up to T5, up to her level 5 cap. We're going to max out her EXP, get her up to level 70. And like I said, we really want to make sure she's doing a ton of damage for when we get into here. Because if she doesn't do enough damage, we won't be able to complete the last part of the levels. Because there is 5 different levels. The first 4 levels we're going to be using NPC characters that have been built to level 60. So it makes it very easy. It also gives you a control of how the manual aspect of the game works. So we won't be able to auto, we have to manual it. So the character we're actually going to get today, her name is Curze. She is a free character that was designed by a player. She is a warrior-based, magic-based damage dealer. She's got a ton of AoE damage. All 3 skills do AoE damage. They all have CC of some sort. Her first skill is a frontal line AoE with a knockdown. Her second skill is an AoE stun. And her third skill is an AoE. I believe there's a bit of a stun, or no, attack debuff on there, and it does a ton of damage. And her passive skill boosts her crit rate, but also boosts the CC that your fellow heroes do to bosses. So she is a great boss battler, so great world boss, great TOC, and great like final boss battles and chapter battles. So again, she is a great character to use. Maybe not so much for PvP, but if you use her right, she can be used for PvP, because again, she's got a lot of AoE CC damage and a lot of AoE CC control. So again, like I said, she's a phenomenal character, and like I talked to a lot of my guild members in my main, a lot of them aren't big fans of her, but I'm a huge fan of her. I use her in my dragons teams up top, I use her in my world bosses, I use her in TOC, like I said, I use her everywhere. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get her, and she's going to replace Neuraxis for a little bit, because recently the 5-star hero ticket that was given out was taken away. So what I want to do is make this as close as possible to as attainable as possible for the newer players here. So what I'm going to do is remove Neuraxis from my team until I get about 6k rubies, because then I can purchase a hero. And what I'll do is I will pretend to purchase Neuraxis and add him to my team. So then I'll have Neuraxis, Curze, Cleo, and Frey as my team. And then once I get the 3-star ticket, I will be using that on Lias or Refi, one or the other. They're both phenomenal healers, priests, so that is kind of the way moving forward. And what this does is I've got now a CC, good tank, good defense buffer. I'm going to have a good CC sub DPS with Curze, who's going to allow me to get in, CC the team. And the way we're going to build her is a little bit more tanky, so she's going to be able to survive, she's going to be able to do a lot of damage, and I'll show you how we're going to do that later on. And then we're going to have Cleo in the back with her AoE damage dealing, and then Refi or Lias, depending on what I feel we want to try. I'm leaning towards Lias because Cleo is mana hungry, and Lias is a mana battery, or is classified as a mana battery. So that will be a great little team we'll have to get us through all the chapters. And with this, what we're doing here is we're going to get our Cleo up to level 70 along with Neuraxis before we get into our actual battles, because the very last battle is your team that we have to use. So we want to make sure they're geared up as much as possible and as early as possible, because like I said, we haven't gotten to chapter 2 yet. We're still just finished chapter 1. So getting this 5-star hero will give us 2 5-star heroes going forward, because we won't use Neuraxis, along with Marianne and Frey, to kind of give us that little boost to get us through the next chapter until we get their 3-star hero. And like I said here, all we're doing here is getting my Cleo maxed up enough so that we can do enough damage. So we're going to be ruining her up, especially with her her unique weapon. It's fine to throw in your good runes on that. Make sure she's, again, as much damage as possible. And with the lifesteal, like I would suggest going attack, lifesteal with her, especially for this early part of the game. Because if she does get jumped on, you want to be able to heal. And with her AoE damage, she's going to heal herself up to full. Fairly simple. So all I'm doing here is I'm getting enough fragments to get her built up and get her up to level 5 cap. So what I'll let you guys do is kind of watch this to see what we're doing here, and then once we get into the actual part where we're going to be battling, I'll come back on and start talking a little bit more. And I guess one thing that we'll talk about here is I do want to give another shout out to Audio Playlist Library, our Audio Library. They have a phenomenal playlist of music that is free for creators to be able to use, for YouTube. I've absolutely loved the music. Their music is for the main themes of while I'm talking, and they also have my ending credits that I use now. So again, I want to give them a huge shout out because it's made my playlist, or my Bigger's grinding, all the stuff I do here on the YouTube, a little less boring. It's got a little bit of a beat to it now. So now you can see that my Cleo does a ton of damage. Very easily cleans up that her darkness self so we can get her to level 5. And then once she's level 5, we'll be going into the actual battle part. So we'll talk about it too, because we will be getting into the part where we'll be using those NPCs in manualing. This is going to be a great opportunity for you to get the hang of how to manual, and especially in the last part that you have the NPC before you use your own character, which is the 4th part. You have to be able to keep the Aisha CC controlled. So just to give a little bit of a heads up for that one, you're going to want to use her skill 2 as much as possible to keep her controlled. Skill 1, skill 2, skill 1, skill 2, skill 3, skill 2. Because if you let her get her beam off, you're going to basically die and you have to redo it over and over again. So again, with that one, make sure you're using her skill 2 as much as possible. That is her stun, and her skill 1 is her knockdown. So just kind of last touches here before we get in. We're going to make sure they're geared up, make sure their gears leveled up, make sure they're runed up, make sure they're all set up. I was going to see if I could T1 here to get an extra perk or damage, but I don't have enough essences right now. And that's one thing we will touch on in the next episode, is making sure you're doing your upper dungeon grinds, making sure you're doing your EXP grinding, your royal vault grinding, all that stuff, to make sure that you're getting as much out of your grind every day as possible. It doesn't take very long. It might take 20 minutes to half an hour to get all of it done, especially a new beginner, because you don't have many levels to get through. But making sure you're doing that every day to get as much grinds as possible. And now here we are. So with the Gate of Ordeal stage 1 I've already done. We're going to go into Ordeal stage 2. And you see, there's Curze, our little cat waifu here. Now, in the comments down below, I want you to... She reminds me of a character out of an anime. I want you guys to kind of maybe guess of what it is, and maybe if someone can guess the right character I'm thinking of, they might do a little bit of a giveaway where I will do a one-on-one PT session with you. Ask advice you want. So again, here we are purely manualing. There is no auto here, so this is going to give you a good idea of how to do your manualing. So you can see she's great for keeping that team's crowd controlled, and that was all AoE damage. So all her skills are AoE damage. Her basic skills aren't, but her skill 1, skill 2, skill 3, all AoE damage. So it's going to be great for farming and EXP grinding. Alright, so I'm going to cut out the next 3. We're just going to get to the very last part where we're going to use our characters to get in there and get Curze. Alright, so here we are. I've got my team battling Curze. Now, I do get unlucky here where Curze actually does almost... I think she one-shots my Marianne. But you can see Naraxis is up front, keeping her basically controlled. And like I said, right there, she just one-shot my Marianne. She's a very strong character. Luckily, Frey survived, so I can get the damage amplifier off. Like I see, Cleo is doing a ton of damage to her. And like I said before, Naraxis is keeping her CC controlled. Cleo's doing her darndest to keep all the damage. I do lose Frey, and she is at 50%. But like, just watch. I grinded up Naraxis and Cleo, make sure they have good gear, make sure the skills are up, and make sure they're both 5 level 70. Like I said, Naraxis is barely taking any damage. He's getting constantly defense buffed. He's keeping her CC controlled. Cleo's doing a ton of damage to her again. And as you can see, these two actually pull it off and take her down. And with that, we have now got our 5-star hero, Curze. Now, Curze is one of my most favorite characters and heroes here. Just her art design, her kind of character, her kit, everything she puts together. She is a great character for beginners and endgame as well. Especially for like single target bosses, world bosses, any kind of boss stage. TOC, she is a great little character to have on your team. Alright, so now with this finished, with the Tower Deals, you can go there, you get essences, you get grinds to make Infinity Stones. So it's every week you can do it. It's 25 floors. It can be very easy to do. So that's also one of the things we did open up with this. But my main focus is I wanted to try to skip this and just kind of show Curze off here a little bit. Now, before we get into Chapter 2, I will have Curze geared up and get partially skilled up, because again, she's going to be my frontline tank while we take Naraxis out until I get the 6k rubies to be able to buy Naraxis. But here she is. So like I said, deals total magic damage over 7 attacks, nearby enemies, circular range of self, then attacks frontal enemies in a range, magic damage and knocking them down. Unleashes the power of Archangel, damage to all enemies and stuns them for 1 second upon activation. And then she increases the attack speed of all allies and releases a shockwave to and dealing magic damage to enemies. Summons Arcane deals in a straight line and reduces the attack speed to and dealing magic damage to all enemies in range of her attack. Lastly, increases her own attack by so much and crit chance, and increasing duration of CC that all allies inflict to bosses by 20%. Like I said, a phenomenal character. A lot of people sleep on her. Make sure you grab her, especially when we did the mission success. You should be able to get her before you even get into Chapter 2. And this is the T-Perk offensive guard we will be using. Her max PDEF, half of that's going to go to her attack, so it's going to make her tanky, make her more survivability. And like I said, that's kind of where I run my Curze in my main. I absolutely love her. And again, phenomenal character. Very easy to get. I got her before Chapter 2. So, other than that, guys, I am just going to max her level up. By the time we see in our next episode, she will be geared up and ready to go. Naraxis will be out until we get the 6k rubies. Again, we're trying to make this as close as possible to free to play and attainable as possible. So other than that, guys, hope you had a good weekend and stay chilly.